Hi people, it's me Anja, my pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new reading vlog. My family and I are currently on vacation, specifically on a cruise, which is very exciting because I have not been on a cruise in truly a decade. And second of all, I love being on vacation in general. I'm so excited for a week off of work. Even though I love my job, obviously I love free time. But anyway, as for my reading, I'm currently reading a memo about autism, which is very exciting and super illuminating because honestly, when I was first diagnosed with my autism, it was like I was given a piece of information that suddenly, like, I understood everything about myself. Like, everything about myself was no longer considered weird. It was considered, like, more normal. I don't really like that word normal applied in this situation, but basically it was like I had found a place for myself in society and I was no longer the odd one out. And even though I didn't necessarily interact with other autistic people until a few years later, it was still very nice to know that there were other people like me. So anyway, even though I don't necessarily relate to every single aspect of this book, I think it's very good and informational to read about it. So yeah, that's what I'm currently reading at the current moment. People, so my hair's a mess. Please ignore that for the rest of the video. But it's been several hours since I last talked to you. I think I hung out at the pool for a little bit, in the sense that I sat by the pool and I took a nap, but it wasn't really working to fall asleep, so I went back to my room to fall asleep, and then later on we had dinner. But anyway, here I am now, and I finished the Autistic memoir. I thought it was very illuminating. It's one of those things where I enjoyed it because I learned a lot about other people on the autistic spectrum and not necessarily myself, which is what I've always felt sometimes when it comes to the autistic community, just because sometimes I feel like an outsider to it. I don't know if that makes any sense, and I'm not trying to say that other people are more autistic or anything like that than I am, but like sometimes I just feel like I don't fit the stereotype. So I know that's like internalized ableism or whatever, because like I am autistic, so I should feel as if I am autistic, even though I don't fit the stereotype. But the stereotype is like Elon Musk, who is a white man, and I'm not a white man. So anyway, it's illogical, basically. Basically, my next read is going to be All Nighter, which is a YA sapphic contemporary. I think it might be Rivals to Lovers, but I'm not completely sure. I believe it was marketed as Booksmart meets Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, which is a very interesting comp because, like, I didn't really enjoy the movie of Booksmart, if I'm being honest with you. It was one of those movies that I watched when it came out when I was in high school, and I only watched it really because other people were hyping it up. But I don't really enjoy, like, movies that are supposed to be comedic because since I'm autistic, I don't really understand like neurotypical humor all too often because I don't really understand like why other people find it funny. So I didn't really find the movie very funny. And yeah, I enjoyed Today, Tonight, Tomorrow though, which is a book that I don't really talk about all too often anymore because I've heard through the grapevine of Twitter that Rachel Lynn Solomon is not woke, if you know what I mean, in this political climate. Like, I don't know, I know there's a stereotype that Jewish people are Zionists, which is not completely true, because you can be Jewish and be pro-Israel, but you can also be Jewish and be pro-Palestine, although I've heard that she's of the former and not the latter, but I'm not completely sure on that, so I could be wrong. So anyway, all that to say, I'm very excited to continue this book, but I don't know if I'm going to finish it tonight or tomorrow. I'm quite tired, honestly, because like I walked around in the sun. It was really hot out. Tomorrow at like we're eating breakfast at 8:30, I think, and then we're like stopping at a new country, which is very exciting because this cruise is like making stops in the Caribbean after porting from the United States, if that makes any sense. So yes, I'm very excited for that. So yeah, there's that. Hi. So I'm enjoying All Nighter so far, and I definitely understand the characters' motivations and everything. However, I knew this book would include the forced proximity trope before reading it, but I had an epiphany the other day that, like, the reason why I don't enjoy the forced proximity trope is because it's giving, like, you two are only falling in love because she's the only option. You know, it's like, you don't actually have a crush on your coworker. You know what I mean? It's just proximity. And you see them at the worst times as well as the best times, but you don't actually have a crush on them. It's just proximity. It's maybe limerence. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm enjoying this book so far. So yeah. Hi people, so it's the next day. I finished All Nighter last night. I rated it 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed the characters' dynamics. I enjoyed them individually because their stories and their rivalry like made sense, as did the romantic chemistry. I liked the plot and the pacing and the writing. And I'm wondering if this book is a debut or not. But anyway, I would read more by the author if they continue to write more. So with that said, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I would highly recommend it. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to read next. We're currently at a private island, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know if we're not in the United States anymore or not. I have no idea. I'll have to ask. Hi people, so we came inside because it's raining outside. So yeah, but we're about to have lunch and I started a new book. I'm like 10 chapters into it. It's called This Thing of Ours. It's a YA contemporary following a black man character who's a bit like a fish out of water because he's lost his basketball scholarship and the one thing that defined him, basketball, because he got injured right before his senior year. But now he's starting a writing program, which I think is really cool. So that's exciting. Hi people, so I finished This Thing of Ours, and I apologize if you can hear the background music. But anyway, I rated it 4 stars. I loved the conversations surrounding book bannings and writing and representation and wokeness. I loved the characters and the writing and the pacing and just the conversations and the friendships. Like, the characters felt like real people, and it never, like, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it every single step of the way. So I rated it 4 out of 5 stars because I genuinely felt emotionally connected to the events as well as to the characters. So with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it, and I hope to read more by the author in the future. And now I'm currently reading The Notorious Virtues because I wanted to take a break from YA contemporary and read something that's YA fantasy. I believe this follows a young girl from a lower class who's entering into a high-stakes magical tournament or something like that, some sort of competition. I'm not sure. I've been waiting for this book to release for the past 5 years because it kept getting pushed back and pushed back, and now it's finally out. But I'm afraid that my anticipation for it means that I've been waiting for too long and then it won't be as good as my eagerness. Does that make any sense? I don't know. But that's where I'm at. Hi people, it's now the end of the day and I'm about to go to bed. But I wanted to give you a quick reading update. I finished The Notorious Virtues. It was not worth waiting 5 years for. I rated it 3 stars. I enjoyed the world building and the magic system, but I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I wonder if this book is a standalone or if it's the first in a series, because I think that it would have really benefited from like having more books because it was so unnecessarily long. I don't know, especially in the third act. Maybe it's because I felt like two of the four main characters like blurred together, and there didn't need to be so many character perspectives. Not to spoil anything, but there are four character perspectives. Two of them were girls and two of them were guys, and I felt like the two of them who were guys blurred together, and like I just felt like one of them should have been cut. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I enjoyed the act. I love stories about like underdogs and like stealing back from the rich or whatever, so I enjoyed those tropes found in the girls' perspectives. But as for the journalists, I think there already needed to be one of them. So yeah, I don't think I'll be continuing the series, and I don't know. Yeah, I probably will DNF the sequel if I even start it at all, if there is one in the future. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 3 stars, and I don't know what I'm going to read next, because I have to decide how long this video is going to be before I decide whether or not I'm going to continue filming. Like, I am going to continue filming, but I might just make a second part, like a second video, rather than just continuing this one, you know? Because I don't know if my phone has enough storage to export a longer version, as we've discovered earlier. So, yeah, there's that. Hi people, so it's the next day. My siblings and I recently got back from an excursion where we went and saw some sea lions, and it was so much fun. I love sea animals because they're so cute and so fascinating, and honestly, in another lifetime, I would have become a marine biologist. But anyway, that aside, it also started pissing down. Like, it was raining so hard. They gave us each rain ponchos to stand in the queue for the boat. But anyway, I'm currently reading Come As You Are, which is a YA contemporary, and I think it's sapphic because all of the author's previous books have been sapphic so far, but the main character currently identifies as straight. So, does she not know that she's queer? Or, like, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but basically she's at a boarding school, which is interesting, and she was accidentally placed in the boys' dorm, and she's trying to change her reputation and like shed off the good girl image for some reason. And I'm not quite sure where this storyline is headed, because it's called Come As You Are, which means, or that it implies, that like she shouldn't change her personality for like the approval of other people. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't even know who her endgame love interest is, because I think, like I said, I think this book is queer, so I'm confused as to which love interest, like which girl that she's met is going to be her love interest. Maybe it's Isabel? I don't know. I'm quite confused, but I'm intrigued, and I think I'm gonna rate this book 3 stars. I don't know. I'm barely like in the beginning of it. It's just that I've rated Dahlia's books in the past higher, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Hi people, so it's the next day. It's now Wednesday, I believe. We got here on a Sunday, and then we're leaving on Saturday. Tomorrow we're going to Jamaica. The next day we're going to the Cayman Islands. And like I said, on Saturday we're going home. So today we're at sea, and then Saturday we're also at sea. But anyway, I don't really know if you're gonna hear me because of the music. But anywho, yesterday I finished Come As You Are, which was, first of all, straight, but also mid. I was hoping that it would be like a queer awakening story, but it was not. And honestly, I don't really get the point of the story. I don't know, maybe it's one of those instances where like I understood the point of what the character was trying to learn before the character realized it, and that's because I wasn't really immersed into the story anyway. Because once I realized that the romance was going to be straight instead of queer, I was just already disappointed, you know what I mean? Anyway, I rated it 3 stars, and now I'm currently reading Spelling It Out, which is a middle grade contemporary following a young main character who's spending the summer with his grandmother, whom he's starting to suspect has Alzheimer's. but that's not the reason why he's staying with her. He's staying with her because he's studying for a spelling bee, hence spelling it out in the title. And I've read a book before by this author like ages ago, and when I say ages ago, I mean literally like 4 years ago, so it's been a minute. But with that said, I don't really have like lower or high expectations, really, but I'm enjoying it, you know what I mean? So with that said, I think I'm gonna rate this book between 3 and 4 stars, but I don't know. So anyway, that's where I'm at C. Hi people, I hate to say it, but it's the next day again. Yesterday I did not film very much because like we were at sea all day, so there was not much to film, you know what I mean? More time to spend with my family and everything. But anyway, today we stopped in Jamaica, Falmouth specifically. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know, it's the city that Usain Bolt is from. But anyway, it was so much fun. I've been to Jamaica a multitude of times, but it is still so stunning every single time, and it never gets boring, you know what I mean? Like, I never get tired of it. But anyway, I'm currently back on the boat now. The boat is leaving from here to the Cayman Islands at 5:30. It's now like 4 or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, as for my reading, I finished spelling it out yesterday and I rated it 3 stars. And I'm now currently reading The Monstrous Kind, which is a YA romantasy retelling of Sense and Sensibility, if I'm not mistaken, which is a Jane Austen book that I've never read the original tale of. But from what I know, it focuses on 2 sisters, and one of which is coming back home, but she's not like really wanting to. She's coming back home because her father recently died, so she's coming back home to reunite with her sister again. But from what I understand, she and her sister are not particularly close. I believe Sense and Sensibility originally is set in the 19th century, and I don't really know when this book specifically is set because of the fantastical elements that are in it. And typically in the past, I haven't really enjoyed romantasy. For those who don't know, romantasy is a romance-driven story with fantasy elements, not a fantasy-driven story with romance elements, because that would mean that like 6 of Crows is a romantasy, and it is not. I feel like sometimes people don't really understand the definition of a romantasy since the term itself is so new to readers, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's what a romantasy is, and typically I don't really enjoy romance-driven stories, but to be quite honest with you, I've run out of the majority of the books that I downloaded for this trip, and since I don't really have Wi-Fi, like, my pickings are slim, you know what I mean? There is technically Wi-Fi on this trip, like on this boat available, but you have to pay $25 per day to get Wi-Fi that's more than just like sending and receiving text messages and using the app that the cruise wants everyone to download. So I won't be doing that, which is totally fine by me. I can watch everything that I've missed when I get home. So anyway, there's that. Hi people, it's me, Anja. It's the next day again, and I finished The Monstrous Kind last night, and honestly, I don't know if it's the kind of book that I would have read had I not had extremely slim pickings. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really fall in love with the romance or the world building or the plot or anything. Like, it was good and it was intriguing, but it wasn't completely interesting to get over like a 3-star rating. So I can't quite say if it's truly accurate to the original tale that it belongs to, because I've never read Sense and Sensibility. And I don't think I will in my future, honestly. But anyway, I rated it 3 stars, and the next book on my Libby queue is These Vengeful Gods, which is a YA dystopian following a transgender main character who's entering into this like magical tournament, if I'm not mistaken, to fight for their uncle's freedom, because their uncles like, got arrested for the existence of them because they're not really supposed to exist, since they're a descendant of, I believe, like a death god or something like that, because the death gods weren't really supposed to have children, so their existence is already illegal. So when the uncles get arrested, they must enter into this tournament, or at least they decide to. I'm not really sure how the recruitment really is, or the contest, or anything, but I have really low expectations for this book because of the author's reputation. I read The Wicked Bargain by them like a few years ago, and I thought it was like 3 stars. I DNF'd the sequel, or the companion novel rather, and then I read Most Ardently last year, I think. I didn't really love it. So anyway, there's that. As for our current destination, we are currently now in the Cayman Islands, which I've never been here before. I'm not really sure what we plan to do today, actually, but I'm excited to be here because I've never been here before, nor had I ever been to the Bahamas, but I had been to Jamaica. But anyway, we're all coming close to the end of our trip. But anyway, all that to say, there's that. Hi, so I just finished These Vengeful Gods on the top deck, and frankly, it was awesome. It was so good. I love these stories that are about, like, fighting for the people that you love, fighting for your identity that, like, shouldn't exist according to the society. Like, this book was so good. I don't really know if it was supposed to be a trans allegory or not, because, like, the trans representation within the story is very literal instead of being, like, metaphorical or anything like that. But anyway, this book was excellent. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. I loved the queer representation. I loved the plot and the pacing and the writing and the world building. And the plot twists never seemed like they were supposed to be, like, shock factor or anything like that. They seemed, like, well paced into the plot. You know what I mean? Like, the best plot twist isn't the plot twist that comes out of nowhere. The best plot twist is the one where retrospectively you can see little hints of it before it was revealed. Anyway, this book was excellent. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. I rated it 5 stars. It also made me cry at least 3 different times. And also, I think this book is a standalone. I'm not sure, but it's excellent, and I would definitely highly recommend it. So anyway, with that said, I don't know what I'm going to read next. I might borrow my sister's copy of The Vanishing Half because she said it was really good, but I think I've run out of all the books that I downloaded for this trip, I'll be honest with you. So that kind of sucks. Although tomorrow we're at sea again. The day after that, we'll be heading home. So I was going to end this video anyway. But yeah, overall, this trip has been really fun and really cool. I think that cruise ships are quite the vessel, no pun intended, to go to a bunch of different islands, like, faster than, like, flying there, if that makes any sense. And, like, the ship and the cruise and the staff have been so nice and so welcoming and just so nice. And, like, I think we're going to a show tonight as well as tomorrow. So I would recommend, if you're going on a cruise anytime soon or any time in the future, to really take advantage of the activities and the shows that you can attend while being a guest on the ship. I feel like sometimes people might dismiss the activities that the ship has provided for you when you're thinking about, like, excursions and stuff like that. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't really know much about cruise culture since, again, this is the first cruise I've been on in, like, a decade. So, yeah. Anyway, all that to say, this has been a fun trip so far. So, yeah.